my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got a April 2024 reading wrap up to share with you guys. And this month I read 7 books. That's pretty good. Last month was my first month doing these monthly wrap ups, even though I've been on BookTube for literally years. But you guys seem to like it, so I thought we'd do it again. This month I'm going to just go through them in the order that I read them. I think last month I did it by like ratings, but we're just going to start from the first one I read in April, which was Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaghay. Yeah, McConaghay. I was second guessing myself there for a second. I really liked this. I gave this one a 4 stars. It's about this woman named Auntie, and she has a twin sister. And it's honestly been so long now, I'm like trying to remember what it was about. She is a like sort of a conservationist, a scientist who works with bringing wolves into places where they haven't been in many years. So her current job is she is bringing, I think, 9 wolves to Scotland, to like the Scotland mountains, Highland Mountains. And she's going to release them into the woods, and hopefully they're going to be able to build their numbers as the time goes by. Because having wolves in a forest do amazing things. It can even, like in terms of the ecosystem, it can even change the way rivers flow, is how important wolves are. So she's very passionate about this, but the community where she's doing this, they're very apprehensive. Some are apprehensive, some are downright hateful and angry. They don't want the wolves. They're scared about their farms, their sheep, their cows. And she doesn't have much time for this kind of nonsense in her mind. So anyway, so that's going on, and then we're also getting history about her and her twin sister and her parents. And I just thought it was incredibly interesting. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars. It was going to be a 5 until I got right to the end. I didn't love the ending, but overall I loved the book, and I would recommend. Because you know what? Maybe you'll love the ending. Who knows? Hang on, I gotta get my phone out for this to see to see what's next. Next was Under the Palms by Kira Rauda. I'd read a few books by her in the past and really liked them. This one I gave 3 stars because it just wasn't that exciting. Now, to be fair, it was the second book in a series, but really it stood alone just fine on its own. It wasn't for me. It didn't do anything for me. So I'll definitely check her out again in the future once she's writing something not this series, because I did really enjoy her other books. But this was just kind of, it was forgettable, you know. Next up, I started my Revisiting Christopher Pike series, which if you guys liked, I'll try to find another one. For this one, we did See You Later, which was also a 3 star for me. But I enjoyed it, you know. I'd kind of been hoping for more of his like horror. This is a bit more of like a science fiction story. It kept me engaged. I was impressed with how smart it is, considering it's for, you know, like middle schoolers or young teenagers. I thought it was great. I don't read a ton of like stuff for middle schoolers or young teenagers, so I don't know if this is rare, but like he doesn't talk down to them. I thought it was great. And maybe other authors do that. I just don't read a ton, but I want to find some of his like old school horror books, because I loved him. I loved him when I was a kid. Oh. Next up, we had a 5 star, my friends, and this was Small Town Horror by Ronald Malfi. This was my first book from this author. I loved it, and from what I can tell, based on like his reviews and ratings and stuff, is all of his books are great. So I can't wait to read more from him in the future. But this one, I loved it. It was spooky. It's about a man who has to go to his hometown that he hasn't been to in like 20 years, when late one night he gets a phone call from an old friend of his who's like, you have to come here now. And it's that kind of story where it's like a group of high school friends reuniting after many years because they committed a crime when they were kids and something's gone wrong. Something has gone wrong. And it was really spooky and I loved it. Loved it. Oh, next up, this was the April podcast selection for my podcast with my friend Krista, Death in Her Hands by Ottessa Moshfegh. I feel like I've talked about this book so many times because I did a book talk here on this channel. And then I went to her house. We recorded the podcast. Once we were done, we realized it didn't record. So that night we recorded it again. It recorded. I saved it. I go home. A couple days later, I open it up, or I try to open it up to get ready to edit it. It won't open. A message pops up and it says, unable to open this file. I've been using this program for 8 years. I've never seen this message before. So I Google it. I'm getting all kinds of like, try this. I'm trying all the things. It won't do it. So a few days later, I go back to her house and we record it a third time, which is now posted. It worked. I tried a different program that's only for audio. Death in Her Hands. I enjoyed this. This got a 4-star from me. I went back and forth between a 4 and a 5. And I still am going back. For now, I'm saying a 4. Maybe at a later date, I will change my mind. But I love this. So this is about a 72-year-old woman named Vesta. And she lives in the middle of nowhere by herself. Well, with her dog, Charlie. And they live in the forest in a cabin. Her husband passed away a few years prior, and she just up and moved clear across the country. It's not said why, because she has no family. So I don't know why she moved so far away from where she lived. I guess she just needed to get away. And one day she goes out for a walk in the woods with her dog, and she finds a note. And it says, her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here's her dead body. But there's no body. There's no body. And Vesta becomes obsessed with solving this crime. And so for a while you think it's going to be a mystery, like maybe a whodunit. It's not. It's how to word it. It's a lot of internal monologue of like Vesta just talking to herself and thinking and coming up with stories for Magda, who she doesn't know and can never know, but she comes up with this whole life story for this woman. And it's just kind of a slow descent into madness, but also kind of like a metaphor for the creative process. And I just thought it was very interesting. I enjoyed it, and I would definitely look forward to reading more from this author. Next up, we have another 3-star, and that is That Night in the Library by Eva. Oh goodness, I can't remember how to say her last name. I looked it up to pronounce it properly for the video, and I can't remember, like the review video, but by Eva. And this had a great premise. A group of kids are locked into a library overnight, a rare books library. They're all about to graduate from university, and it's kind of like this one last night. They're going to take a ton of drugs, acid, and do like this ancient Greek ritual, and then somebody ends up dead, and that causes the rest of the group to turn on each other as they don't know who to trust because this guy just turned up dead. And I thought it was a great premise. I was really excited for it. But it kind of fell flat for me, only because maybe I've seen this exact premise, not the location, but the rest of it done really recently in a movie that I watched. Which I won't say the title here, but if you go to the video at the end, I give a warning and I say the movie. So because of that, I was kind of like, this has been done, and recently. But I thought the writing was good. Like, it's not poorly written or anything. It just fell flat. One of those books. And then finally we have We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. And this scared the absolute pants off of me. Terrified me. I mean, you can't go to the basement to get the laundry until someone else is in the house. And that's my big tell. If I'm scared to go in the basement, I'm scared. This is a story about Eve and Charlie. They're a couple who have recently purchased a house, again, kind of in the middle of nowhere, where all the bad things happen. And one Friday evening, Eve's at home alone waiting for Charlie to come home. They got this great night planned. They're going to relax. They're going to play games. They're going to have some drinks, have a good dinner. While Eve is waiting for Charlie to come home, there's a knock at the door. And there she finds a family of 5. And the dad, he's like, hey, I grew up here. Can I come in and show the kids around? I would love to do that. And she's like, I don't know. But eventually she relents and lets him in. And from there, it all goes off the rails. It all goes off the rails in the scariest way possible. Of course, that's going to be subjective. What scares me isn't always going to be what scares you, but maybe it will. Would recommend. This is a debut novel as well. And ooh boy, if this is any indication of things to come for this man, like he's very talented. Very talented. I loved every second of it. And that's going to do it for me for today. Don't open doors if you don't know who's on the other side. And if you do open the door, don't let them in, no matter what they say. All right. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.